of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. We want all the Egyptians to be Sarah and Mina. In the name of Allah. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, the great people of Egypt, I would like to start my speech today by sending my congratulations to all Egyptians for these blessed days in which our feasts, Muslims and Christians, are coinciding. The holidays of the holy month of Ramadan coincide with the great days as well as the Easter. Many happy returns, and may every year carry to us a great country that gathers us for peace, good and love. Ladies and gentlemen, the pledge between you and myself, since I was honored to shoulder this responsibility that I shouldered by the order of the people, is the pledge of honesty in words and devotion in work and good intentions and feeling belonging only to God and the country, praying to Allah and to implement the will of the people and achieve the ambitions and objectives of its people. Our steps were concrete and we had a relentless will to achieve survival, construction for our beloved Egypt. Throughout the previous years, the challenges were grave, yet our successes in overcoming them were greater. And let me here leave the written speech as I want to say that the crises and their effects do not have a statute of limitation. And I'm talking about this in particular because we are living in very difficult conditions both in Egypt and all over the world. Thus we need all as Egyptians to stop, since we are concerned about the safety, the stability and the future of this country, and think. That's why I'm saying that the repercussions do not have statute of limitation, but these are extended repercussions and impact throughout history until we are able to totally overcome them, and they only then become history. I will talk here about some of the figures that might be clear to us as Egyptians on these days. I would like to say that in Egypt, in the events of 2011, 2012, I will give figures, and these are revealing figures. I want to talk about 2013, 2014, 2015, up till today. I'm mentioning them because some people might say, why is he saying that right now? What's the context? I'm talking about the reasons of what we are facing today. I'm trying to explain things that we should remember always to identify the reasons of the crisis, not what we are facing right now, but what Egypt has faced during its modern history. Why is it as it is right now? I will tell you at least that in the year 2011, 2012, these are the losses incurred by the state of Egypt in less than 24 months. I will talk about the state institutions. They lost 37 billion Egyptian pounds and 80 million Egyptian pounds, and $1 equals back then 8 US dollars. When the state incurs such losses, its impacts do not come to an end once a new person assumes office. What is in the past is not history, because it's cumulative. It has its effects, impacts, and we need to recognize this in all the topics we'll cover today. When I say that in 2013, 2014, up till 2017, the Egyptian army was spending 1 billion Egyptian pounds per month for 84 months to fight terrorism. No one said that before, and we did not mention it because we are not trying to give a statement here. It's just an attempt to highlight our reality, the effects resulting from any procedure we make. And some of us unintentionally might mention topics without realizing the reality. And the biggest problem is that the idea might not be comprehensive. I'm not saying it's wrong, but maybe it is not full and complete. The armed forces spent 1 billion Egyptian pounds per month over 84 months to fight terrorism. Why did we have terrorism? Because we opened the door in 2011 and 2012 to instability that resulted in unstable elections that brought to us power that was unable to lead the country. I always say that, and I wish you would accept it. Don't think that you gave me the responsibility of being a president who wants to take office. No. I said this before, and this does not change. This is something that never changes. I'm here to enforce your will. So long as your will is there, I will respect, appreciate it, and enforce it. So it was a must to discuss this point in this introduction, to say why is our country today in light of other crises we'll talk about. I want this point to be clear in your minds, those who are for me and those who are against me. I'm not here and you are not here. I said this to the media representatives in our press conference. It's either you are with me and I'm with you. It's either you are here with me and I'm here with you. Because we are not two, we are one. And we said this in the beginning. When I was asked to run for elections for such a responsibility, I said that the issue in Egypt is very big, bigger than any government and any president, but not bigger than Egyptians. And that's why the two examples we have, Sarah and Nina, people who already live amongst us, and we wouldn't have been able to know about them except for this coincidence. I would like to say that the credit rating for Egypt had 6 setbacks in 2011 and 2012. Also, the encroachment on the agricultural lands from the 25th of January till 8th of February was 35,000. Beware that you were standing in the square and you do not know what's happening elsewhere. You were standing in the square unknowing what's going on in the other places. The country was destroyed with good intentions. With good intentions. I'm talking about a very small crisis Egypt has been through, and I'm giving small figures in comparison to the reality. If we come to talk about 2014, when the Egyptians asked to change the status quo that resulted from the events and the elections that were held back them, and a lot of people say this TV series, what is its objective? Its objective is to record honestly and frankly at a time when honor and honesty lacks. We were keen on making every word said at that time with seniors as accurate as possible. This is exactly what happened. Can someone have different ideas than the other person and help him? Why would he help him? Would he conspire? Why wouldn't he conspire?
ما يتأمرش ليه؟ مش كده ولا إيه؟ لا والله، وأنا بحلف بالله.
And I'm swearing by God.
أبداً. وسبب النجاح وسبب
The
التغيير
reason of the change and the reason of success was that there was no conspiracy and no dishonesty.
لأن الإخلاص ما كانش لحد.
Because
الإخلاص كان لله.
being honest was to Allah and to this country.
يعني أنا لما أجي أقف الوقفة ديت
When I stand
مع
up
الرئيس مرسي الله يرحمه
with President Morsi, may he rest in peace, I was standing beside Egypt.
مع مرسي لو اتأمرت عليه
If I would conspire against him after he assumes power, then I'm conspiring against Egypt.
تأمرت على 100 مليون.
I conspired against 100 million and wasted the future and the lives and stability of 100 million. Love has no place there.
الفكر هنا ملوش مكان.
Ideology has no place. Honesty, dignity, and integrity for the protection of this country. And there is doomsday, and on doomsday each one of us would stand before God, and he will be held accountable before God about every word he said. And I, in particular, I would like to tell you that the GDP estimated according to the rating organizations was that Egypt will have 8 trillion Egyptian pounds till 2015, $475 billion. This was the figure. I would like also to tell you that the income of the individual according to the GDP was $2,000, and it was estimated that in the year 2015 it would be $4,000 US. What was the result? The reserve was finished. The reserve in the central bank disappeared during that period. The unemployment rate increased to be 14%. What would be the impact of all that on the state? And no one was able to solve this problem. No one would have been capable of solving it. If Ahmed Shafiq was the one who was elected, would he be able to face the challenges? No, including myself. And I'm saying this for history, and I said it before, but we might forget. If it was not for the intervention of the Arab brothers with tens of billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars, I'm repeating, in 2013 and 2014, then Egypt wouldn't have been able to stand on its feet up till today. Would this make people sad? Yes. Real confrontation saddens people. Shouldn't you know that what did for you is something that you need to embrace and hold on to? In 2011, God saved us. In 2013, God saved us again. Even during the pandemic COVID-19, when the whole world was facing real challenges, God supported us. And in 2022 now, during the Russian-Ukrainian crisis and its impact on the whole world, I emphasize that it's neither me nor you who would save it. It's once again God who will save it. I do not want to be lengthy, but I wish that we will always remember this, because this is a reality that we have lived. When we come to talk about our martyrs, this is another figure. Why did we face terrorism?
بغض النظر عن اللي كان
regardless of what
2010
was
و9
there in
رضانا من عدم
2010, 2009, whether we accepted it or not.
اوعوا تفتكروا ان انا محسوب على حد
Don't think that
اوعوا
I'm
تفتكروا ان انا محسوب على حد
belonging to a certain group or I'm defending a certain group. I just would like to remind you, and we are in a holy month, that the person should be honest so that God would announce him honest. Sometimes it might not be suitable to say the honest words until time is appropriate. The function that was there with us, what was its role? Its role was raising suspicions and building mistrust in the Egyptian community. Did it stop over 90 years? What was its impact?
اثر ده ايه لما انا اقعد من خلال تواجد في
When I go
قواعد
through my presence in the grassroots of the community and keep raising doubts about everything that is happening, as what is happening right now. People are simple, they are preoccupied by their daily lives, so they won't keep discussing every point and checking whether it is right or wrong. But it is for the thinkers, the politicians, the media to shoulder this responsibility before God, to help protect this country, to help protect Egypt, so that we can overcome not only these crises, but to form real awareness in our community so that it would be capable of being the solid block in facing all these attempts. When I met the media representatives and the journalists in Toshka, I told them that Prophet Sulaiman received two sisters who were fighting over a child. So, and both were swearing that this child is hers. So he said, okay, bring a saw and let's divide him into two parts, and each one will take a part. The real mother said, no, take the child and give it to her so long as he will live and not die. It's not important to make him live with me, but it's important to make him live. It's not important to keep Egypt with me, but it's so important that Egypt would live and survive. I swear by God that I'm honest. And I said this in one of the sessions of the military council in 2011, and 6 months before the elections. They were saying who would be elected. I told them it's the Muslim Brotherhood. So a discussion took place, and I told them a country with the Muslim Brotherhood or no country, select. At that time, my colleagues in the council
والله قال لك معقول بقى ما هم موجودين في كل حته لا لا لا
said this person might be of them because they are everywhere. May God always make us honest and able to understand and distinguish between things. I told them that this is my opinion. They came.
طب وكان البديل ايه؟
What was the alternative?
انتوا شفتوا حاجه واضحه وصريحه.
You have seen something clear, a real threat, a direct one.
طب وقتها المواطنين والرأي العام في
At
مصر
that time, what was the public opinion in Egypt after defaming the armed forces for a year and a half, killing people in Maspiro and Mohammed Mahmoud and Port Said and the complex. This that happened over a year and a half. Would we have a civil war in Egypt, and Egypt would be lost then? And the army itself might be lost. And when I always say compare things in Egypt right now and compare other countries that followed the same track, who survived and who did not.
مين؟
Which country was able to survive? It's only Egypt.
طب ليه بقى؟
Why?
طب ليه بقى؟ موضع ادخلوها بسلام آمنين.
Because the verse from the Holy Quran says, go into Egypt safely. It is said for three things only in the Holy Quran: Egypt, paradise, and the Kaaba.
يعني في يد اللطف.
This means that the hand of God is supporting us, and we need to acknowledge that, and modestly we wish that God would keep helping us. We wish that we would be able to put the different pieces beside each other to recognize what happened in Egypt during the past 10 years and keep this image in our minds so that this country would be a stable one. When I was having the iftar right now, I said, I swear by Allah that I am ready to eat half a meal for a whole year for Egypt to survive. And the great people of Egypt are strong, aware. I'm talking about the laymen in the streets, whom we do not meet a lot, and I'm one of them. I wanted to say that because people are talking a lot about the different crises, the pandemic, the Ukrainian crisis, the prices. Although we have taken a number of steps to reduce its impact, and we will do more, but the important thing is not just the bread, but stability, safety. These are the most important things now, because other things can be solved through this. But if this does not exist, we won't be able to do this or that. Ladies and gentlemen, the pledge between you and myself, since I was honored to shoulder this responsibility upon the order of the great people of Egypt, is to always be honest, devoted in my work, and to belong only to God and to this country, to enforce the will of the nation and to achieve the ambitions of our people. And our steps were concrete, and we had a relentless will to achieve construction and development for Egypt. Over the previous years, the challenges were grave, yet our successes in overcoming them were greater. And the rumors and the suspicious campaigns were intensive, and the achievements were the response. Terrorism was seeking to weaken us, and the blood of the Egyptians and their sacrifices was the price paid so that Egypt would always be strong. Let me in brief say the number of our martyrs who fell during the confrontation since 2013 up till today is 3,277, and 12,000 injured ones. And we're talking here about the injured ones who are not able to get back to work. Again, 3,277. These figures were not made before. We did not mention the figures of our martyrs and injured ones over the previous years, but I'm mentioning them now because I am worried that after things become stable in Sinai, people might forget. Do not forget. Do not forget the explosion of the security directorate in Cairo or Qalyubiyya. Do not forget all these things. This was a price we paid. It's not me who paid it. It's all of us who paid it. It's this country that paid a dear price to reach what we have today. There were sacrifices made by a lot of people and a lot of families. When I say 3,277, this means that 3,300 Egyptian families are in pain so long as they are there. They paid this price for this country to survive. When I say that the army paid 84 billion Egyptian pounds over the past 7 or 8 years, I'm saying this figure because this is the price of the struggle with them. Things came to an end. So let's announce that Sinai is free from terrorism. When we remove all the explosives that they have planted in different areas in Rafah, Sheikh Zayed and Arish, then we can announce that terrorism has come to an end in Sinai. I see our people from Sinai. I would like to welcome you. Many happy returns. May God protect you, and you helped in putting an end to terrorism in Sinai. Thank you, Mr. President. Long live Egypt. I thank you rather because through your cooperation, patience, and the suffering you have been through over the past 8 years, we're able to do this. As officials, we won't forget that. I'm saying this for the Egyptians, not to forget that. Our attempt in Sinai to do real development and construction is something that you really deserve. You deserve us to do more and to spend more for that. I would just like to tell everybody that because in every incident we used to think that this has come to an end. Yes, it came to an end, but with a dear price. So we thank you, of course, and my greetings to all the people of Sinai in my name and in the name of all Egyptians. Many happy returns.
وانتم طيبين. شكر. اللهم امين يا رب. شكر.
Thank you very much.
من فضلكم بس عشان ما اطولش عليكم، لما اخلص كلام حد فرصه. اتفضل. حاضر.
Let me finish my speech first. Our prayers to all our martyrs. Looking at the daily national achievements record over the years after our great revolution on the 30th of June 2013, we find that together we created a glory we are all proud of again. It was made by the blood of our noble martyrs and the hands of the honorable farmers. And I would like to say to the scientists, the intellects, that they have supported this, and the country now has become a joint space where our dreams for the future meet to build the capacities of the state of Egypt. We endured as people and state great challenges and a lot of pressures. The efforts of the reconstruction and development of the infrastructure of the state coincided with an economic reform program, and the Egyptian citizen incurred the results of these reforms. And it was the Egyptian great women who were at the forefront, and she was always at the forefront of any national action. And let me also say that we had two options. The first was to have a war economy and say that we are fighting terrorism everywhere on our borders, so that our people in Matruh won't think that I forgot them. On our western borders, from Saloum until our borders with Sudan and our borders from Libya till the Red Sea. I would like to tell you that this was something accepted, and the media coverage would have supported this. We are in a state of war, so we can stop everything for 7 or 8 years until this battle comes to an end. And we saw that this was one of the objectives of terrorism, to stop things in Egypt until the ability of the state of Egypt is weakened. So we had two battles: the battle of confronting terrorism and the battle of reconstruction of the state. When we come to talk today about 7 or 8 trillion Egyptian pounds spent over the past 7 years, this figure, if we are taking this decision now after terrorism has come to an end, then the figure would have been much more. We would have needed 14, 15 trillion Egyptian pounds, and we would have needed 7 or 10 years to do so. So we worked on two parallel things, and by saying so, I'm not overestimating what was done by the state, but rather what was done by the citizens and the people. It's not the government that did so, it's you who did it. We had a big problem of electricity and energy. Who can say that we can invest in industry today while we do not have electricity? How can we give the neighboring countries electricity while we ourselves do not have enough electricity? Over 2 years and a half, we doubled our production of electricity, and we have a surplus of 20% now. So all the sectors of the state, and I wish we won't forget, were working. We did not postpone anything, neither transportation, nor education, nor health. But let's stop here. I've said this several times, because some people might say, why are you repeating it? I'm repeating it because things did not change. When we have 2 million of 2.5 million increase in population every year, so you need 60,000 classrooms in addition to the existing ones, and over 10 years you will need 600,000 classrooms. And if one classroom costs 500,000 Egyptian pounds, then we need 30 billion Egyptian pounds or 60 billion Egyptian pounds. And for this, we need 1 million teachers, for example. What about their salaries? I said that before. Please ask always from where and how much. Keep this in your mind to know how things are taking place. When we said in the beginning that we are together, at that time we were 80 million Egyptian pounds, and now we are 100 million Egyptian pounds. The growth of the country is parallel to the 20 million. So this should be taken into consideration. This is our situation, and we should not forget it when we come to describe the difficulties and introduce solutions. And when you talk about the public affairs, you can say whatever you want, and if I cannot respond to you, then I do not know what's happening and I should not be here. In every sector, I might tell you that this is what we can do, and we cannot do the rest yet. I met one of the thinkers and a caricaturist, and she told me that we always say to the children that Egypt can do everything. I told her, I disagree with you. How you would tell the children that we can do everything? No, we cannot do everything. And we need to make people understand that there are things I can do, things I cannot do. I can do this because my capabilities allow me to do so, otherwise I would be giving a wrong impression
سياق وجداني في الناس مش احنا مش قادرين
to
عليه.
people, and I would tell people things we are incapable of. So when I come to talk about all the sectors, the Minister of Health is here. According to the medical standards, we need to have 2.8 physicians per 1,000 per 1,000 citizens, and we have 1.4. Some will say the physicians leave Egypt and go abroad. Yes, this is true, because the salary we offer is less than the salary he can receive elsewhere. Isn't this the case, Khaled? Yes. We lack the physicians. We have a disproportionality between the number of physicians and the number of citizens. And of course, the physicians do not receive a good income that allows them to go on. They are well qualified and they might be attracted to work in other countries in the world. And the ones who are still here are doing great through the health system, and through the presidential initiatives we were able to serve more than 83 million citizens over the past 4 years. What Dr. Khaled is saying is so important. It's so important to say that despite all the conditions we're talking about, the initiatives that were launched over the past 5 or 6 years for fighting hepatitis C, putting an end to the waiting list, was that if we are not able to provide the number of physicians needed, we did these initiatives to overcome this problem. People need to realize that to have universal health coverage and good education, you need figures that are not there, and we should not be frustrated by that. You should take it into consideration and tell me, how can we do it? How can we achieve it? Please be seated, Dr. Khaled. For that point, I would like to say that despite all these challenges, imagine if our agricultural yield is as such and we have only 50 million citizens, then it would have been enough and it would have met all our needs. And the Minister of Agriculture can respond. Wouldn't have been enough if you had self-sufficiency in most of the commodities and grains, with the exception of wheat. Although we are 100 million, then the wheat we're talking about national production of 10 million tons, and I purchase 7 or 8 million tons from abroad to meet my needs. So if I had 40 or 50 million Egyptians only, then I think that our production would have been enough. And this applies to a lot of things. So in brief, I would like to say, when we talk about the crisis, and we said that the effects of the crisis and the solutions and the track we are following has no statute of limitation. This is something cumulative that we bear as a state and as a nation if we want to achieve real development and want to get out of this. Would this make us frustrated? No, of course not. I am just trying to touch the feelings of people with nice words. No. So long as we are working, we will be able to do it. During the elections, I only said patience and work. Is there anything different from what I said? Did I promise you something during my campaign? I said, for example, the first 100 days. And tell people things that are unapplicable. We did not do this. We said that we have very grave challenges, and these challenges need the will of people along with the state to overcome these challenges. My words have not changed.
هو أزمة كورونا دي إحنا
There is
كنا
the pandemic COVID-19 crisis,
ربنا سبحانه وتعالى وإحنا مش
and we have nothing to do with it. This is
الأزمة الأوكرانية الروسية إحنا
given to
بعيد
us
عن
by
الكلام
God. For
لكن أثرها
the Russian-Ukrainian crisis, of
تمتد علينا
course,
وتؤثر فينا.
we will
المهم
be
إحنا
influenced by it,
نبقى يعني مكبلين الأيدي ونسكت ولا
and
نتحرك
we do
ونشتغل.
not want to
نتحرك
stop. We
ونشتغل.
want to keep
المهم لا نفقد
working
أبداً
despite these
الأمل
challenges.
ولا
We
أبداً
should
يحيط
not
بينا
lose
إحباط
hope,
أو يأس.
and
مفيش
we
كلام
should
من
not
دول.
feel
طول الإنسان
frustrated.
موجود
So
بيقابل
long
تحديات
as we
وطول ما
live,
هو
we will
بيعمل ربنا
face
سبحانه وتعالى
challenges, and so
بيعينه
long
عليها.
as we work, God
وقد
will
تحققت
support
تبرر
us.
الإصلاح
The
وانعكست على
thought
مؤشرات
of
الاقتصاد الكلي.
development
فقد حققت
and
مشروعات
the
البنية التحتية
reform was
والطاقة
reaped.
نتائج
The
مذهلة.
projects of
عايزين
energy
نزود
and
قدرات الدولة رفعت
infrastructure were amazing, that increased the value of the assets of the state and made Egypt attract foreign direct investments, and also unemployment rates reduced after providing job opportunities by the mega national projects, and a qualitative leap was attained through establishing the fourth generation cities, after establishing a number of cities nationwide to meet the gap between the demand on housing and the supply, to provide the needed housing units for the youth of Egypt. And construction and production is taking place in all sectors and fields, and the Egyptian citizen and providing a quality of life was the noble objective. So we launched an initiative for health that achieved concrete influential results that reflected positively on the health of Egyptians. And we launched also the first phase of the biggest development project to develop the Egyptian rural area through the Decent Life initiative. This program, Decent Life, this was a question as I was asked by the journalists. They asked me about the initiative. I told them that this was a program we launched, and it is continuing. The values needed for it, and Dr. Mustafa can reply, do you have a problem with the 700 billion Egyptian pounds? Would you please give him the microphone so that people would be reassured?
اتفضل.
حضرتك احنا بنتكلم هذا المشروع يعني عشان بس نبقى عارفينه.
For this project, we are reconstructing a whole state. If 60 million citizens live in the Egyptian villages, and we are doing full development and upgrading to 60 million, then there are countries that do not have population of 60 million. These villages that were neglected for thousands of years, we as a government, and excuse me, we are not in our offices. Every day we take to the streets, and every time I visit a village, and I think that all the members of the parliament and the council used to talk about wastewater. Do not leave villages without wastewater. Till when? So when the president launched this project, it is not a project. We are reconstructing a whole country. The beginning of the project was estimated at 600 billion. But now, with getting in the details, because when these villages were built, there was no planning. Everyone used to build whatever he wants without any system. So it's a challenge in every village. I have 4,500 villages with 4,500 challenging projects. So when we come in the details and we find that we do not have even designs of the networks existing in these villages, so we found unimaginable challenges. It's so easy to construct on an empty plot of land, but it is so difficult to go to an existing community and try to reform or upgrade it. The cost is threefold the cost of building something new. This was the challenge we needed to work on. That's why the more we want to develop, we find that the cost increases, because there are activities. When we started the idea, we're not there. And when we found houses without roofs, it is not just a matter of lacking wastewater, but there is no roof, only walls without a roof. How many houses are as such? A lot of houses. and we cannot leave the village as such. We need to renovate these houses. So we found that we need to do a lot of activities. That's why the cost of this project, instead of 600, is now 800 billion, and it might even be more. But we have no other alternative as a state except go on with this project. The project is doing this great upgrading and development of the quality of lives of Egyptians, but it creates millions of job opportunities in these villages where the youth had to migrate to bigger cities or take boats to other countries to find job opportunities. Through these national projects, we are able to create millions of job opportunities. What was the alternative? You said a very important figure. In 2012-2013, the unemployment rate was 14 and 15%. Today, during the crisis, the pandemic, and the Ukrainian crisis, the unemployment rate is 7.5% with the increase of population. So the population increases, and yet we are able to create job opportunities for the youth. What would have been the case if we do not have these projects? What would have been the percentage of unemployment? It would have been 20%, and this means that 20% of the Egyptians would have been unable to win their bread. So we are trying to create job opportunities for the youth, while the private sector was unable to do this in light of instability, difficult economic conditions. The private sector was only trying to protect what it has. So the alternative was that the state must start implementing these big projects that do not only develop infrastructure and change the face of Egypt, but it is also creating job opportunities for millions of youth who get in the labor market every year. Otherwise, they would hate this country, and they would either become addicts or terrorists who hate this country and want to destroy it. We need all to remember from where did we start, and now with all these challenges and conditions that we are not responsible for, like the COVID and the Ukrainian crisis, Egypt is still able of producing development with rates that the whole world is acknowledging. Of course, the challenges are there and they will always be there, and to build our country we need to keep on working for tens of years so that this country would be in the position it deserves. We should not stop, because if we stop, we will lose everything we did during the previous period. I'm sorry for being lengthy. No problem. Thank you. So, Decent Life Initiative is trying to face the overpopulation and to support most needy citizens in the Egyptian villages and achieve social justice that the Egyptians called for in 2011 and 2013. A package of social protection measures were undertaken to provide an umbrella for supporting the limited income people, and the efforts of the state are not limited to the economic sphere only, but we are trying to develop our security and military capabilities. And this was a necessity in light of a region that faces a lot of struggles and conflicts, in a region that is full of struggles and conflicts, and these capabilities are a guarantee to protecting this country and is the support to stability. The state of Egypt was able to redraw its international and regional relations according to the concept of mutual respect and enhancing joint interests and defending the Egyptian national security with its close and far spheres. Ladies and gentlemen, the great people of Egypt, every viewer following the development of the state of Egypt since 2014 up till now can tell the story of a great nation that was able in less than one decade to protect itself from falling down and turn the conspiracies of those who wanted it to fail into a will to become a pioneer country in its region, young in its dreams, strong with its people, who are not threatened by terrorism and are not worried by false lies. And now the world is facing a complex crisis resulting from the impacts of the pandemic and the Ukrainian-Russian crisis. This crisis that led to increasing inflation rates worldwide and a case of recession and a problem with the supply chain. And Egypt is facing this crisis with developed capabilities and an active action plan developed by the government and all the state institutions to turn this crisis into opportunities to develop the Egyptian economy. I would like to tell you that the main thing that people used to talk about recently was the basic goods, the daily commodities that no one can live without. I would like to tell you that in 2014-2015 we made a decision that the state of Egypt should have strategic reserve not less than 6 months, and we provided the resources for that. At that time we did not expect that we will go through this crisis and we'll have to face it and see whether our reserve would be enough or not. When we are talking about the wheat we have, and that will be harvested in the Egyptian lands, are enough for this year, for 9 months. And we have self-sufficiency from rice. And by the end of this year, we will have self-sufficiency from sugar. So I would like to say that there is no problem. Yes, there is an economic crisis, yet we are capable of going through it. We have our needs on our lands, and you will see as we went to Toshka, and during May there would be the harvesting of wheat in Mustaqbal Masr and the production in the Egyptian villages. I'm talking about wheat and other crops. We have no problem with them all, and we are not saying this to reassure you because this is the reality that we need to present to all Egyptians. Taking into consideration working for reducing the direct effects on the citizen as much as possible through coordination and cooperation between the state institutions and the civil society organization and the development partners, as well as increasing the umbrella of social protection for the most vulnerable groups. The great people of Egypt, the sacrifices of Egyptians and their dreams is the guarantee to keeping our great nation. And as we crossed over the previous challenges together, we will overcome the current challenges as well. And we have the representatives of the nation who convened today on the table of Iftar of the Egyptian family. I would like to tell you that we are renewing our pledge to be gathered by the common spheres to build Egypt the future. And to achieve that, I would like to confirm that I decided the following. First, asking the government to hold an international press conference to announce the plan of the State of Egypt to deal with the world economic crisis, including the implementation of urgent steps to attract foreign direct investments in the fields of infrastructure, energy, health, education, digital transformation, and provide the support to the Egyptian investors in all fields: tourism, industry, agriculture, real estate, digital transformation. Secondly, launching an initiative for domesticating and supporting the national industries to depend on the local product and to reduce imports through enhancing the role of the Egyptian private sector through supporting small, medium and micro enterprises in Egypt and providing incentives in the forms of usufruct lands and exemption from taxes for 5 years. in addition to providing support needed to legalize the status of the violating ones and to provide support to those who suffer from default, supporting the initiative of the National Alliance for Civil and Development Action implemented during the past 2 months through providing the support and the social protection for 9 million families, and the government would support the alliance by 9 billion Egyptian pounds till the end of the current year. And let me here extend thanks to all the members of the alliance, all the NGOs and all the institutions for the efforts they exerted, the integration and the cooperation with the different state institutions to make this example a success for cooperation between the civil society and the state. Fourth, due to announcing the year 2022, the year of civil society, I invite all the relevant institutions and NGOs to launch a dialogue platform through the National Alliance for Civil Development Action and the Ministry of Social Solidarity and the National Council for Human Rights to provide support to community and the society to enhance this action in a way that serves sustainable development. Fifth, designating the government and all the line ministries to enhance all types of support provided to the farmers of wheat in Egypt by increasing the incentives given to the farmers, be it financial service, to achieve self-sufficiency from wheat. Sixth, reactivating the presidential council that was formed as one of the results of the National Dialogue for Youth, and the basis of its work would be coordination with the different relevant authorities. And I'm so glad that different groups of our young people were released from prisons over the previous days. I would like to tell them that the country is for all of us, and different opinions does not waste the issue of this country. 7, designating the different state ministries and institutions that provided the basic needs for the citizens through the different exhibitions held in the different governorates, to go on holding such exhibitions to provide all the basic commodities to the citizens with affordable prices at the end of this year. 8, the National Conference for Youth should coordinate with the different political and partisan parties to hold a political dialogue on the priorities of national action and present the outcomes to me in person, promising to attend these dialogues in their final phases. Here I would like to tell you that in my press conference I talked about the political reform, and I asked whether this was on our mind or not, whether we were targeting it or not. Yes, of course, I at the personal level was so keen on this, but maybe we had other priorities. But now we are launching it and opening the floor for dialogue and discussion for all the powers without any discrimination. And after we have specific outcomes, this might be presented to the Parliament and the Senate, so that the needed laws would be there. We need to do this now, after what we did when we said that the state of Egypt is launching the new republic. So this would be one of the things that we need to work on while announcing the new republic.
قيام الحكومة بالإعلان
The
عن خطة واضحة
government
يتم
would
الالتزام
announce a
بها
clear
لخفض
plan
الدين العام
to reduce
بالنسبة للدخل القومي
the
وكسر حاجز
debts
الموازنة
as
على
well
مدار الأربع
as
سنوات
the budget
القادمة.
deficit over the
10
coming 4 years.
قيام الحكومة
10th,
بطرح
the
رؤية متكاملة
government would
للنهوض
introduce an
بالبورصة
integrated
المصرية
vision to develop the
تهدف إلى
Egyptian
مضاعفة
stock
أحجام
market
وأعداد
to double
الشركات
the capital
المعترف
and
بها
the
أوراق
number
مالية
of registered
للمستثمرين
companies
المحليين
in the
والأجانب
Egyptian
والمؤسسات
capital market.
المختلفة. 11 تكليف
11,
الحكومة بالإعلان
the government
عن
would
برنامج
announce
لمشاركة
a
القطاع
program for
الخاص
the
في الأصول
participation of
المملوكة
the private
للدولة
sector in the
بمستهدف
state-owned assets
10 مليار
with a
دولار
target 10
سنويا
billion US
لمدة 4
dollars
سنوات.
annually for 4 years.
12
12,
قيام الحكومة
the
بالبدء في طرح
government would
حصص من
start
شركات المملوكة
offering
للدولة
shares of
في البورصة
state-owned
المصرية
companies in
ومن
the
ضمنها شركات
Egyptian
المملوكة
capital
للقوات
market,
المسلحة
and some of them are companies
وذلك
owned
قبل
by the
نهاية
armed
هذا العام.
forces before the end of this
13
year.
استكمال سداد
13,
المديونية الخاصة
continuing paying the
لعدد
debts
700 من
for
الغارمين والغارمات
700
المتواجدين في
indebted
السجون
people
بتكلفة مالية
in
تصل إلى
prisons with a
45
cost
مليون جنيه
of
لإخلاء
45 million Egyptian pounds so
وذلك
that they
كدفعة
would be
أولى
released
من
as a
المساعدات
first
الموجهة
batch
لهم
of
ولأسرهم
assistance provided to
والعمل
them
على
and their
دمجهم في
families
الحياة
and
العامة
integrate them
وتمكينهم
in the
اقتصاديا.
public life and empower them economically.
وفي نهاية حديثي
At the end of my speech in this galaxy of the great people of Egypt, I would like to tell you that this country is stronger than what people think and richer than the ideas of those who raise doubts about it. Egypt, the strong republic that is establishing a new republic, is capable of overcoming the difficulties and turning the challenges into opportunities. New Egypt is a democratic, civil, modern state that opens its doors to all its people and works for stability, construction, and development. Egypt that has a lot of martyrs, and its glory was made by the hands of its youth, and the hope was planted by its farmers, and its future is made by its industrialists and workers. Egypt is the homeland that we always say to long live Egypt, long live Egypt, long live Egypt, and peace be upon you. Once more, thank you very much. Once more, thank you. And I can see Mr. Hamdin. Welcome. I would like to welcome you all. Many happy returns. Thank you very much.
السلام الوطني لجمهورية مصر العربية.
Be the first to know. The news live at the site of the event. Information on events as they are happening. If it's breaking news, it's Nile TV.